Hi, I talk a lot about letting go when I'm teaching people to play fluently. There's a focusing part of fluency which is really important. You've got to know your musical vocabulary, you've got to know the structure of music, and that's absolutely vital. And the way that the mind simply focuses moment by moment, that's absolutely important for fluency. But without letting go, there isn't really fluency. You're just simply working out what you're doing from theory, albeit my theory is simpler than the normal theory that is taught. It would still be theory, because every word I'm saying to you now as I'm speaking fluently, obviously I know what word I'm saying, so I'm focused. I know which word is which, and I know what they all mean, and I can track them all as they happen in real time. So that takes focus, albeit now effortless focus, because I've learned to do it. And that's a very important concept, isn't it? Effortless focus. Because I'm letting go, you see, I'm actually letting go. I'm not thinking of the words. I'm not summoning them by working stuff out. When you're fluent in a language, the words just appear to convey the meaning. So I let go. I simply let go, and I have to let the words appear as needed. Now, it's exactly the same with music. So letting go in music is a little bit more of a big deal, I think, than letting go in language, because words convey concepts, ideas, things that we can handle with our sort of normal thinking mind, whereas music conveys deep feelings. And it comes from our body and soul. So the kind of rhythm, there's rhythm in speech as well, but the kind of rhythm that we use in music has got more, for want of a better word, poetry, which is, of course, a language term. It's a literary term. Nevertheless, it's useful because if we speak with poetry, the rhythm becomes different, doesn't it? So that rhythmic shift is part of letting go. And I would say it's the biggest part of letting go. And that's what I'm going to talk about in this video, how to let go and be musically rhythmic. So I talk a lot about letting go from the body and soul. It's all about this. It's all about not thinking. Obviously, we have to think of the model, but at the same time, we have to do our musical stuff without thinking. And otherwise, we do it very intuitively. We do it from the body. What does rhythm feel like when it comes from the body? Well, it feels free. We feel it. We actually feel it inside us. So you can sense that if I start to sort of, clap a beat, I get into that groove, you can sense that I'm doing that from my body because it feels free. And we all know what that feels like. But that doesn't mean we do it, especially not when we play a machine like the piano, a musical instrument that is a very machine-like musical instrument if we're not careful. And we end up stiffening up. You've got to have that freedom. So if I'm playing one note on the piano to a groove in that kind of way, it has the same feeling as when I'm clapping from the body. I often talk about when we sort of hit the dance floor. For us to dance convincingly, we have to let go. We have to sort of feel the music in our bodies. And music's hard, especially playing a solo instrument like the piano, because it's like hitting the dance floor all on your own. The lights are on, you haven't had a drink. I can't play the piano if I have a drink. So, you have to be disinhibited. You have to feel that groove in your body. And this is very important. And I'm not talking about certain styles of music. If I'm playing Mozart, I want to feel the groove in my body. Still got a groove in. So groove is everything. Groove is the most important thing in music, in my view. Well, when it comes to musical fluency, as I think of it, groove is the most important part of the structure of music. So it actually helps if we understand that structure. So let's have a look at the structure of groove again. I have another video talking about this, probably in slightly different terms, so hopefully I'm not repeating myself. Let's have a look at what the structure of groove is all about. So groove, when we talk about poetry, it gives us a huge insight into what we mean by musical groove. It's this sense of, I would say it's non-linear, so it's kind of a nested structure. It's like 2 times 2 times 2. So what do I mean by that? So if I do one beat and follow it with another, and there's that feeling of symmetry or pendulum-like quality, this followed by that, da, da. That's 2. 2 that then becomes 1, so you answer it with another to make 2 times 2. Da, 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 da. See? And then we might do all that again to make an even bigger 2. Da, 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 da. Feel that? Now, having the ability, as we do, to focus on that structure as it unfolds, that's that principle of 2s of 2s. We can also think of 3s, so 3s of 2s or 2s of 3s. We can also think of 4s. The brain can handle 4s. 4s are still 2 2s, but the brain can really handle 4s. So if I think of 4s, I could think of doing 4 beats answered by 4 beats, answered by 4 beats, answered by 4 beats, and that's just two layers of 4, 4 times 4. And I can think of that in my brain. So I can go da da dee da 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 dee da 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 dee da dee da da da. So I've only counted to 4, and that's how it works. I don't actually need to say numbers because I only count to 4. In fact, what I get my students to do is say little mantras. You can almost say what you want, but I use these little simple mantras. I say inward rhythm, flowing rhythm for common time. So you go inward rhythm, flowing rhythm, and that's 2 sets of 4 beats. So having that structure in your mind is really, really useful, but obviously only any good if you let go and you feel it. Now, speaking it poetically is really good. It's a really good way of doing it. It's very useful if you want to get that, more classical style where it's more rubato-y. So you kind of go inward rhythm, flowing rhythm, inward rhythm, flowing rhythm. And I have a tendency in a lot of my videos when I'm talking about rhythm, in my teaching videos, I have a tendency to sort of lean into that way of doing rhythm just to show people that groove doesn't only sound like groovy styles. The groove is not like, I'm not talking about groove here like it's a material thing, like it's a repeating bass line with a drum beat. I'm talking about something which is almost non-material, something which underpins the way that music actually works. So yeah, it's not limited to any style. Groove is part of what music is. But obviously, you've still got to feel that groove in your body. So a slightly sort of jaunty, funny word to use, but a slightly jaunty feeling, a sort of rhythmic feeling in your body is essential. And that has to come right through your whole body, down your arms, through your shoulders, down your arms, past your elbows, into your wrists, into your hands, and play. So if I'm playing just some very simple chords, and this is really something that's worth practicing, just playing some simple chords like this, just doing, just a simple rhythm cell, diddle, 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 just getting that to feel free. And what I need to be able to do that is to feel the nice resistance of the key as it goes all the way down from the surface. My fingers are touching the surface as I play, and then I feel the note go all the way down to the key bed. And that feeling of like very gently, but it's not like hitting a big drum or something. It's a gentle feeling, but it's a rhythmic feeling. That moment that you hit the key bed, that's the beat. So this freedom through my body, I don't know if you can sort of sense it. It's really important that you try to sort of imagine what it feels like to do what I just did. It doesn't feel like this, where I'm listening critically and trying to approximate or execute something that sounds musical. That might end up sounding something like this. because I'm not letting go. I'm assessing my playing as I'm playing. I'm listening critically. This doesn't work. What you've got to do is actually feel the rhythm actively with your body. And we know that we're playing rhythmically when we feel that rhythm flowing through us. Now, this can be hard. What can happen especially if we've learned a piece passively, or we've learned to play the piano passively, to actually let go feels out of control. It can feel really out of control at first. So it's important to do very simple things. Something like that. Maybe something a bit more complicated like. Can you sense this rhythmic quality that I'm feeling through my body, even if I play very slowly? I'm feeling that the beats have this kind of flow between them that I always talk about, this flowing quality. Duh. So often the way that we clap reveals how rhythm flowing through our body feels and how it works. If I do a clap and I kind of go and it's all stiff, it's going to feel horrible. If I do a nice flowing movement out and then clap, yeah, that's rhythmic. It feels rhythmic. And this is why I think clapping is such a useful thing. I was very fortunate when it comes to fluency. My first teacher, a wonderful woman by the name of Ella Pounder, who was trained to some degree in Kodály method. So she taught me rhythm cells using Kodály. So we did ta, tate, and we did it clapping. So a ta was a tate was a, and then we did a rest like that. So I clap rhythms. I go ta, tate, rest, ta, tate, rest, tate, tate. Yeah, so that feeling of understanding the rhythm cells in terms of the rhythm cells. I don't think of them by those names, and I call them dum and diddle because that feels really nice. Around here in these parts where I live, London, southeast of England, people find it hard to say diddle. They tend to say diddle, like that. So I get them to say tum, tigger. So if that feels more natural, you could say tum, tigger, rest. Tigger, 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 tum. By saying it, it's really good. But obviously saying the rhythm cells, dum, diddle, dum, dum, diddle, diddle, rest, dum, 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 rest, diddle, 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 dum. That doesn't show you the underlying groove structure, which I call the matrix. Their underlying structure, that comes from saying that little mantra I mentioned, inward rhythm, flowing rhythm, inward rhythm, flowing rhythm, inward rhythm, flowing rhythm, inward rhythm, flowing rhythm, inward rhythm, flowing rhythm. But obviously, that thinking, that knowing what rhythm cell I'm doing and knowing where I am in the groove, in the matrix structure, is only a very small part of what it's about, because I have to let go and feel it rhythmically so that I'm just expressing myself. Now that comes to the other part. We've talked a lot about feeling rhythm in the body, but what about the soul? We have to be fluent, we have to mean what we play. So we have to play with feeling, we have to play with expression. You can't add that expression after the event. That wouldn't be fluent, because fluent is all about real time, immediate, instant. I'm saying these words now with meaning. I'm not adding expression to them. They just come out in a certain way. And so it is with music. Now, rhythm, again, has this storytelling. I often call it poetic storytelling quality. Da, da, dee, da. Da da dee da, da da dee da, da da dee da. Now that feeling of unfolding, telling a story, this is so important. If we don't feel that, actually feel it inside us, then we're not really doing it. It's not mathematics. It is mathematics. There is something for our sort of left brain, our clinical, cool thinking mind to think about, and that's the actual structure. But we've also got to let go and give it this poetry, this storytelling, this feeling that you can get. It's like a child's poem, isn't it? Da 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 da. And this is what we're doing all the time when we're playing. So you do that as well. So again, it's good to practice simple things, just repeating chords. And as I'm playing these chords, I'm thinking about, obviously, the structure, but I'm allowing my body to feel that rhythmic thing, and my soul, or my imagination, if you prefer, to tell the story, to let the story unfold in that poetic way. So it's not just what I'm playing. It's not just that I'm playing a certain set of notes that makes it sound musical. It's what I'm meaning as I say it in a very spontaneous, very instant, very real-time kind of way. And as I say, that meaning comes from deep inside us, I say from the soul. And it also comes from the body. So this stuff is really worth practicing. It's really important. In fact, to me, it's the most important thing to practice in a way. What's the point of just playing lists of notes? That's why we get stuff that sounds like this when people just execute notes. It just sounds stiff. If you want to feel the rhythm, that has a certain groove to it. Inward flowing rhythm, inward flowing rhythm, inward flowing rhythm, inward flowing rhythm. And of course, lots of music could have that same groove. So practicing being able to do simple rhythms using that groove. Inward flowing rhythm, inward flowing rhythm, inward flowing rhythm, inward flowing rhythm, inward flowing rhythm. This is real skill. This is important skill. It's simple what I'm playing. I'm just playing an F sharp minor block, F sharp minor chord, but I'm playing it with real rhythmic feeling from my body and soul. And this is the important thing to do. This is what I mean by letting go. I mean playing from the body, playing from the soul. Always playing passively, executing lists of instructions, be they the notes on the page or some show and play thing, or doing karaoke, sort of knowing how it goes and trying to sort of check that we're playing it right. These passive approaches work for people to varying degrees. For a lot of people, most people, if we're honest, it creates stiffness. So that's what this letting go is all about. It's all about getting rid of that stiffness, that awkwardness in our playing. We don't listen to music in that way. When people play music, they're not moving with the groove. They're sort of moving jerkily as they're playing what they're playing. When we listen to music, we tend to move with the groove, not with the sort of the surface of the notes, as it were. So when we listen to music, we actually listen to rhythm and tonality or harmony. We don't really listen in a karaoke way. We use this mimetic way of doing music, karaoke, as a way of doing it actively, and it's passive. Or we do instructions, we do decoding notes from the music or show and play. It's passive. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with playing passively, but it's just that for me personally, it creates a kind of stiffness. So I didn't do it from being a very, very young musician from the age of, well, I think always really, because my first teacher taught me fluently. But then when I went to a teacher that taught the passive way, I kind of rebelled and quietly did it my own way fluently. And this is the main thing. This is the number one thing. Rhythm is the number one thing. It comes first. Even just getting your clapping good. Inward rhythm, flowing rhythm, inward rhythm, flowing rhythm. It's got to feel rhythmic. If it's like inward rhythm, if it's stiff in any way at all, it's no good. And we do know what that feels like. We know what it feels like when we're rhythmic and we're flowing and it feels good. So we've got to look for that. It's not, I mean, I have a video called Play Like a Pro from Lesson 1. Yeah, I mean, if it's simple enough, we can aim to do it. But it does take practice. This is the point. It takes practice. It's like learning to juggle. You know, you can't juggle by being stiff and awkward. You've got to actually let go a bit and throw the ball. So it doesn't matter kind of how accurately you measure the movements and stuff like this. There's a naturalness to juggling. There's a naturalness to rhythmically playing an instrument that we have to invoke, find, just use. It's inside us. We know it. We'll recognize it when it's there. If it feels stiff, it's stiff. If it feels rhythmic, it feels rhythmic, and we know the difference. So this is what I mean by letting go. It starts with rhythm. Rhythm comes first, as my first teacher always told me. Rhythm comes first. This is the first step to really letting go, and letting go is at least half of what musical fluency is all about.